After a few years of using my old laptop, I'm officially sick and tired of its snail-paced performance. So today, I decided to build a powerful gaming PC that can crush any task I throw at it. But there is a small problem. I have never built a PC before. Now for this PC, I decided not to choose the parts myself because I surely didn't want any compatibility issues between the parts, at least not for the first build. So after setting my budget and a bit of browsing on YouTube, I decided to copy this build from ZTT, which looks absolutely beautiful and matches my budget. Next, I started researching where to get the parts at the lowest prices to maximize performance on my budget. And this was the part I ended up regretting. I'll explain it later. Anyway, after 2 long weeks of waiting, they finally arrived and I was ready to start building. Following a very useful video from Linus Tech Tips, I started the building process with the motherboard. This is the ASRock B450M Pro 4 R2. After unboxing the motherboard, the first step was installing the processor, which is this Ryzen 5 5600. Installing the CPU needed a bit of extra care as I surely didn't want to spend another £100 on a new one. However, the steps are simple. You just need to push and lift the lever, align the triangle on the CPU with the one on the motherboard, and without applying any pressure, place it in the socket and close the lever. Very simple, very easy. It was around this time that I realized I'd forgotten to ground myself to avoid static electricity damaging the components. So after unboxing the power supply, I plugged it in, switched it on and made sure to ground myself by touching it occasionally. Next, it's time to install the RAM. This is a 16GB Corsair Vengeance LPX DDR4 which runs at 3200 MHz. I think 16GB would be enough for now, and since my main board has 4 slots for RAM, I can upgrade with another 16 without replacing the existing kit. According to my motherboard guide, we should install them in the 2nd and 4th slots so they can run a dual channel. Why? Don't ask me. Once the RAM is installed, the next step is storage. I decided to use my laptop's SSD for this build, mainly because I wanted to keep my existing Windows and files without having to move everything to a new SSD, also to save some cash for other parts. This is a 1TB MSI M450. Since I recently upgraded my laptop's storage with this, I now have its old SSD ready to put back in. Now let's get back to the build. To install the SSD, first make sure to install the adapter screw in place. Mine was already installed. Then insert the SSD at a slight angle, lean it down and secure it with the provided screw. After SSD out of the way, now it's time to install the CPU cooler. Now AMD CPUs usually come with a bland stock cooler, so I decided to buy only the CPU itself for a cheaper price so I can get a more aesthetic cooler for it separately. And the one I went with is this Thermalright AssassinX120 SE, which is absolutely stunning. In the box we have a heatsink, screws and mounts, a 120mm fan and a very useful instruction sheet. In order to install the cooler, first you need to install its mount. And there are different type of mounts for different type of CPU sockets. Mine is an AM4 socket, so I need to install the AM4 mount for it. After that, I applied the thermal paste, which is supposed to be about the size of a pea, but I wanted to play it safe, so I added a bit more, and a little more. And don't forget to take this label off, otherwise your CPU will be sizzling louder than your RGB fans. Then I had a hard time screwing the heatsink in place, because no matter how much I tightened the screws, it still felt loose. I decided to stop at some point to not break anything. It was only then that I realized I used a bit too much thermal paste. After that I installed the fan, which was fairly straightforward. Next we've got the case. This is the GameMax Vista MW White MATX case. After unboxing the case, I removed the side panels and laid the case down on its side. Then after placing the I/O shield in the back, I carefully slid the motherboard into the case, aligning the back ports with the I/O shield. At this point I realized a few screw adapters under the motherboard are missing, so I removed the board and installed the adapters. I slid the motherboard back in place and finally I used the screws included in the box to secure the motherboard. Now it's time to install the case fans. I got these beautiful white Thermalright TL-C12 ARGB fans to match my CPU cooler fan. Also they are great value for money. I installed 2 for intake at the front and the rest for exhaust, 3 on the top and 1 in the back. Next, it's time to install the graphics card. This is an RX 6600 from Gigabyte, which has 3 fans instead of 2, and surprisingly, it was slightly cheaper than the ones from other manufacturers. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Honestly, I love these blue eagle text on it. To install the graphics card, first I needed to remove this thing which holds the cards in place. Then I removed the 2 corresponding brackets to the first PCIe slot. After that, I lined up the GPU with the PCIe slots and applied some pressure until I heard the click sound. Finally, I secured it with the provided screws. Now this motherboard does not come with built-in Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so in order to connect it to the internet, I had to grab a separate Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card, which is this random card from AliExpress. It claims to have Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5, so we'll see if that's not a scam. I removed another PCIe bracket and installed the card in the corresponding slot. Next, I connected the USB 2 cable, which is required for the Bluetooth feature to function properly. Finally, it's time to install our last component, which is the power supply. This is a 650 watt MSI Mag A650BN, which I unboxed previously to use as an anti-static protection. The position of the PSU depends on your case. Mine is at the bottom back, so I slid it there and secured it with the screws. Then I decided to connect my fans together, otherwise known as daisy chaining. Next step is connecting the power supply cables, which includes the 24-pin that connects to the motherboard, the CPU cable to the top left side of the board, and a PCIe cable which connects directly to the GPU. And after that, I also connected the case cables to the board. Now this case comes with an ARGB controller, which allows me to change the colors and effects of the fans using either the remote control or the motherboard software, which is very cool. After unboxing the controller, I connected it to the After unboxing, I connected the controller to the fan cables and the power supply with one of these SATA cables. At this stage, I decided to check whether everything works and the case actually turns on before working on the cables and finishing off the build. I'm super excited to turn it on. Let's see what happens. And yes, it actually did turn on. After it turned on, I could not wait anymore to try some of these RGB colors and effects. Let's actually try some colors and see how it looks like. And these look absolutely stunning. Then I connected my monitor, keyboard and mouse to check if the Windows boots up. It gave me this strange error at first, which made me think I need to install Windows again. And I guess I have to install the Windows again. Oh my god. But just after reboot, yes, Windows is alive. Then I spent some time installing the drivers and making sure everything works. Guys, this is the first thing that you need to do. Just change your refresh rate to the highest your monitor supports. Then I installed this ASRock ARGB software, which gave me more options if I want to change the colors and effects of the fans, which is very handy. This would be only possible if your motherboard has an ARGB header. Then I went to BIOS and lowered the fan speed so it wouldn't sound like a jet engine, because trust me, it really can. Next, I did some cable management to clean up this spaghetti mess. And this is how it looked afterwards. Finally, I closed the front and the back panels and the build is officially complete. And that's it, the PC is finally up and running, and now I can get rid of my old and slow laptop and enjoy the speed of this masterpiece. Now, because I set a budget for this PC, I wanted to make the most out of the money, so I decided to buy some of the parts from AliExpress, including the motherboard, CPU and the Wi-Fi card. The only issue I had was with the motherboard. After I received it, I realized one of the NVMe slots is missing, as well as a DVI and a Type-C port, which was really strange. After a bit of back and forth with the seller, I managed to return the board and get another one from Amazon. It was kind of my own fault because it was somewhat obvious in the images that the ports were missing and I somehow didn't see them. But the conclusion is, buying from AliExpress is good, I believe, because you can get stuff for cheaper price, but you have to be careful and check the reviews, especially those with images, to avoid these type of issues. Anyway, I mentioned the details of the components I used in the comment section with their links if you want to check them out. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and I'll see you in the next one.